each time somebody says, oh, I don't know what they're talking about anyway. Restructuring, what is it? You know, people like that, by the way. Anyway, don't let me go in that direction. But I always answer them, begin with massive decentralization. It's a gospel I've been preaching for more than a decade. I've addressed houses of assembly in Lagos, in Benin, and in the south and once in the north, and I've passed on the same message, saying, push the envelope of federalism as far as it can go. If there are any problems in terms of constitutional interpretation, head for the Supreme Court. In the meantime, however, try and be as self-sufficient as possible. In other words, generate your own resources, and generate those resources in a way that a percentage of it cannot be cornered by the center, like VAT, for instance. Like one state is producing what percentage of VAT, and yet the major part of that is going to the center, which then distributes the way it wants. That is not federalism, and that is what leads to friction and what leads to cries for even secession. So we've got to absolutely reconstruct, decentralize, call it, give it whatever name you want, reconfigure, but in a practical way, not just rhetorical. We've had how many conferences on, because everybody knows that this constitution is not working. Even those who are operating it, they're just enjoying it because they are the ones who interpret the constitution any way they want. Look at the whole issue, the breakdown of security. The center obviously cannot protect, has proved itself incapable of protecting the entire nation. And yet you're insisting you don't want state police, you don't want community police, you don't want Amotekun, you don't want anything except centralized regimentation. In the meantime, it doesn't matter whether those who occupy that centrality of power and responsibility, it doesn't matter whether they're competent or not. It doesn't matter whether they're unlucky or not. It doesn't matter whether the world has moved so far forward and the nation has become so transformed that old remedies no longer apply, and therefore you need new minds. No, you insist on centralism. I mean, what kind of mentality is that? A self-centered, short-sighted kind of leadership, especially in this complex nation. You know, a nation of ethnic, religious, cultural, economic, traditional complexities, the like of which no other nation, maybe, on this continent undergoes. To the structure of governance, sufficiently alarmed that I refused to meet him in Nigeria. And I contacted him and I said, anytime you're outside Nigeria, because I'm always on a lecture circuit also when I'm not in the bush, I said, anytime you're out, I would try and organize myself so that we can meet. I said, because I don't want to talk to you in Nigeria, because even your security services have been infiltrated by Boko Haram. And so we met in London. He was coming from the States. I met for about 1.5 hours, at a hotel in London, in which I narrated to him what we have been seeing, what we had been seeing in the bush, the transformation of herdsmen in the bush. But at the time, we didn't even know that herdsmen were on their own scenario. We thought at the time it was Boko Haram implanting cells in the south under the guise of herdsmen. And Azazi himself, even the security services, they thought so. That's what Azazi, they thought it was Boko Haram. It was only later that it was discovered that these were herdsmen, who were then later on proven to be Fulani herdsmen, who were buying up farms and then driving the farmers off, in some cases saying, okay, we pay for your crops. And then they left. And after that, I convened a meeting in Osun State when Argbeshola was governor, which was attended by a number of governors and all their representatives. I remember Kayode was present. I remember Sholade was present, and also some Yoruba leaders. General Akanyade, he was present. And I asked them, I said, what preparations are you people making? Because the South is being infiltrated. What are you putting on the ground as preventive or even as offensive, if it comes to that? We had a very good meeting, discussed a lot. I distinctly remember, for instance, the representative of Ondo State saying that yes, they had indeed been observing the change in the forests, in the farmlands, and that in fact the commissioner for lands had passed a notice around to farmers that no farmer must again lease out their farms. So we're going back quite a few years. There's been a continuity. Nothing that's happening now has come as a surprise to me and to a number of people. In fact, that's why I threw a party all by myself when Amotekun was set up. I said, at long last, these people are waking up to their responsibilities. And then what happens? Somebody objects, sitting in Aso Rock, to this very minimalist structure of defense and protection of the people for whom, who elected them to look after their welfare. My sense of despondency about our inability as a collective to anticipate even what is happening now. People should know Obasanjo and me by now. It's a love-hate relationship which has been going on for donkey years. And as he himself said one day, when we get to wherever we're going, I have a feeling it'll continue. It's a kind of natural phenomenon. Why I call it natural is that it's happening and it never seems to stop. Remember that during the conference organized, Africa Day, organized by UBA, yes, I took pains to call attention to his warning. And I said, forget the messenger. Could you please fasten on the message? And he was warning about the fallenization, he used that expression, of this nation and the dangers this portended. So, Obasanjo is not a man bereft of ideas at all. He can be very perceptive, he knows. I just have problems with him for certain reasons which we won't go into, that's all. Look, let me tell you something. I'm sure he wouldn't mind my telling you this. When my forestry was invaded, not for the first time, and I chased out the cows, and then the police decided to issue fake news to counter fake news. I got a message from him saying, don't take your security lightly. Don't think that this was an accident. I hope he won't quarrel with me for expressing it, but I feel for people to understand that public fight often is for a fight, and it doesn't mean that we don't take each other seriously on serious issues. And both of us, I know, will stand side by side to repel any attack on the well-being of Nigerians at any time. There's no problem there at all. Yes, everything is interwoven. We all know that. Everything is interwoven. It's our responsibility as supposedly rational beings and concerned beings to try and disentangle these issues when they threaten the fabric of the nation. By fabric, I'm not talking about any mythical nation. I'm talking about the humanity of the nation. It is humans who make up the nation. Let me give you, and there are many ways of tackling such issues. Here's one instance of the entanglement of, shall we say, ethnic issues with economic and social. Recently, I think you must have come across the ABCD project, Anything But Cow Day, which incidentally the first day took place, I think it was February 25th. I saw a notice about another round, but that's just another round. It's not just beginning March 5th. No, it was actually launched on on February 25th. In fact, I have 2 rams to show for it, because I was presented with 2 rams by the movement as both symbolic and practical gesture at the beginning. It's End Cow Pandemic, and it's phase 1. It's going on phase 1, and I think the next round will be March 5th. It's exactly the same movement, but many more groups are coming on board. Afenifere, I understand from what I saw, Yoruba Youth something. Anyway, a number of groups are coming on board of this project. Now, it's interesting that after the February 25th inauguration, the Association of Cattle Rearers, etc., at Bietiala and company, I think about 2 days later, they decided also to stop importing food and cattle into the south. It's like any this is where there is ethnic collaboration. Even though it's supposed to be antagonistic, I think both sides are working toward the same goal. Cattle seems to be the problem. So one side says, stop eating beef. The other one says, we're not sending you any more beef. For me, problem solved. Let's see whether we can live without beef or not. I mean, during the war, if you know what Biafrans resorted to survive, to obtain protein, you'd be horrified. You would just pray that no generation ever undergoes a situation where they have to kill lizards, to survive, just as nourishment. And all this movement is doing is saying, stop eating beef. I mean, you're still in the lap of luxury. So this is one of those areas where it would appear that an issue of insurrection is taking tonalities of ethnic. Because when one group says, okay, we're not exporting any more beef across the border, you're already dividing the nation. Whereas the End Cow Pandemic is actually looking for support all over the whole nation, even in the diaspora. So one side is treating it in an ethnic way. The other one is just saying, look, this is an issue of survival. People are being killed. They're being displaced. They're being raped. They're being brutalized. I mean, they're being made to undergo dehumanization on a level which attempts to rival what went on during the Civil War. This is not an ethnic issue. No, it's not. But one side is trying to make it an ethnic. It's exactly the same thing Mighty Allah did at the beginning of this, when people were just saying, herdsmen have become a nuisance. Herdsmen have become terrorists. And then he got up and said, shut up. We haven't yet begun. We conquered. We Fulani, we conquered you, we conquered you. So no complaint. Otherwise, you get more of the same. So it all depends on mental attitude and also strategic, tactical choices. Tactical choices. This is one of the reasons why you see me backing the End Cow Pandemic movement. If we do it that way, then we eliminate violence, we eliminate ethnic issues. It's not only Fulani people who raise cows, and yet, you know, the owners of the cows which invaded my place, apparently the owners were Yoruba, even though the herdsman was a Fulani. It's not the first time they did that, and I warned them. So, mental attitude, tactical choices, these are approaches which will enable us not to go to that very dangerous brink of ethnicization. No, we just have to be rational and to select, shall we say, our weapons of resistance very carefully and very rationally. Well, there's no question at all that some people would like this country to be plunged in civil war. From that observation, it's easy to accept the fact that it is in the interest of certain groups for this nation to go into, to embark on another civil war. Different motivations. The most dangerous of these, of course, I would call the motivations behind those who actually arm these mercenaries. There are many powerful people in this nation, groups, sectors, who would like the past erased. Some of them are standing trial for corruption on a massive scale. And a fraction of the money they've stolen, a fraction is sufficient to actually equip a fair-sized army and take on the nation. And they don't mind expending that money in order to be able to escape their eventual destiny. Religion has also been used in a very deleterious way. I've already mentioned the issue of gold in Zamfara. When attention is being diverted towards religious piety, in actual fact, the poor, deluded polity is being robbed blind. It's like the old saying that when the colonizers, the imperialists, they came to this country, you know, with the advance guard of the missionaries, they gave the Bible, they came with the guns and the Bible, they gave the Bible to the people who said, start reading, now shut your eyes for prayer, close their eyes. When they opened their eyes, the Bible was still in their possession, but their land was gone, their property was gone. And that's what's been going on in this nation. Those who want to sit on top of resources, such as gold, while, however, sharing in the resources, maybe oil from one side, maybe VAT from the other forms of taxation, while they are keeping their own natural bequest, you know, to themselves. Some of them don't mind starting a war just to ensure the limitation of sharing of their own wealth. That is how corrupt they are. And I use that word corrupt not even in terms of stealing alone, but corrupt in terms of endangering the rest of humanity simply in order to profit themselves. That is, for me, the worst kind of corruption. So, civil war, I think that we're on the brink. We're on the brink because we've been served a toxic brew of ethnicity, religion, cupidity, that's, you know, just greed, and also distorted history.